My final guest this week is a scientist who believes we're on the verge of discovering the fountain of youth. Andrew Steele is a physicist, biologist, broadcaster and author. His groundbreaking work has led him to believe how we are on the verge of being able to stop or even reverse the ageing process.
This is the most important and fascinating science of our time.
Earlier this year, he released the book Ageless, in which he details how close to this discovery we are, envisioning a future where people routinely live into their hundreds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andrew Steele! Hello, mate. I am unbelievably excited to talk to you. I really am. So the book is called Ageless, and it's about trying to get us to live until we're in our hundreds. How do we do that? How do I do it? Tell me the secrets. I'm really excited.
What I really want to do with this book is change the way that we think about ageing. Because I think a lot of people, when they think of ageing, they think it's a natural process. It's just sort of part of being alive. You think of wrinkles, you think of grey hair. But in the book, I talk about it as the world's biggest humanitarian challenge. And that might sound a bit weird. But what I mean by that is, if you think about all the things that kill us in the modern world, you know, the cancer, the heart disease, the dementia, the strokes, these are the leading killers all around the globe now. And what that means is, if you do the statistics, over 2/3 of deaths all around the world, not just the rich world, are caused by ageing. That could be quite a depressing book based on that, couldn't it? But actually, there's a really exciting kernel of truth in this, which is that science is on the verge, as you say, of developing treatments that can slow down, can reverse the ageing process. We've got dozens of different ways to do this in the lab. And what I'm really excited is to get these things from the lab into humans. And we've already got the first clinical trials starting now. Yeah. And that means we can get drugs that could prevent cancer, prevent heart disease, prevent stroke, all of these things at once, and maybe the wrinkles and grey hair at the same time.
Why are you so obsessed with it? Because I can feel that obsession. I'm the same. But mine is sort of born through fear. Like, as in, I'm scared of death. So I'm kind of trying to ward it off for as long as possible.
Mine is born through statistics. Okay. So I started out as...
So statistics and madness. OK.
I started out with a PhD in physics, and I eventually changed career because of a graph. And the graph looks a bit like this. It's a very simple graph, but it's a bit of a morbid one. OK. So along the bottom, we've got how old you are. Yes. And up the side, we've got your chance of death in that year. OK. Now, everybody knows that old people are more likely to die, but just how much really shocked me. So the curve looks a bit like this. Just look at that. I'm going to go through some of the numbers to sort of break that down a bit. So things start out pretty good. Yeah. When you're 10, your odds of not making your 11th birthday are less than 1 in 10,000. Yes. And what that means is that 10-year-olds are the safest humans in the history of our species. Yes.
So if you're ever worried, just put a load of 10-year-olds on your body.
You're basically impregnable. It's
exactly.
Armour. So when you get to my age, I'm 36, and that means I've got about a 1 in 1,000 chance of dying in any given year. OK. And I like those odds. Because imagine that continued for the rest of my life. Yes. I'd be 1,036 on average. Yes. Obviously, that does not continue. Yes. So by the time I reach your grand old age, Russ, yes, I'm going to have odds of death of about 1 in 750. Ooh. So it's still not bad.
So 5 years, and I've lost... So there's 250 more chance.
You can really see... What's going on is humans have a risk of death that doubles every 8 years. Yeah. So when you're our age, it's doubling. It's not that... You know, these numbers are still quite small. 750 is all right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not great.
But by the time... By the time we're 80, if there have been no advances in medicine, you'll have a 1 in 20 chance of not making your 81st birthday. Yes. And obviously, you can see this graph just keeps on going. Yes. So, you know, you look at this as a human and you're terrified. You're absolutely right, the fear. Yeah. So that's the problem for humans. Our risk of death doubles every 8 years. And what that really means is we think of ageing as this inevitable fact of life, but there are loads of animals that don't age. And honestly, I think there are probably more out there. We just haven't had time to look yet. So scientists are basically trying to discover the secrets of all these animals. And then what are we talking? Are we talking like an injection, a pill? Like, what are you trying to get from those beasts? How are you going about that? So the idea is, inside all of our bodies, there are loads of different processes going on. Yeah. In the book, I break it down to 10 what are called hallmarks of the ageing process. And these are the cellular, the molecular changes that cause your body to age, cause you to get wrinkly, cause you to get frail, cause you to get increased risk of disease. Yeah. And I think actually the best way to explain this is an example. One of the hallmarks is the accumulation of what are called senescent cells. So senescent is just the scientific word for old. Yeah. So these cells, they accumulate in your body as you're getting older. Yeah. And unfortunately, they seem to drive the ageing process. So the more of them you have, the more risk of disease you're at, the frailer you get, and so on. So what's really exciting is we've got these drugs. They're called Senalytic drugs. These are drugs that can kill the senescent cells and leave the rest of the cells of your body intact.
Right.
And so we've given these drugs to mice aged 24 months, which is like 70 in sort of human years, as it were.
Yeah.
And these mice basically get biologically younger. So they live a bit longer, which is obviously good, but they don't live longer in ill health. They're healthier. They have less cancer. They have less heart disease. They have fewer cataracts. They're less frail, so they can run further and faster on the tiny little mousy treadmills they use in these experiments. Yeah. They're more curious, so you plonk them in a maze. An old mouse is often a bit anxious, doesn't really want to explore. Given some of these senolytics, some of that youthful curiosity is rejuvenated. And honestly, they just look great. Like, if you look at the animals that have the drugs, they've got better fur, they've got plumper skin. What this really shows us is that these senescent cells, they're a driver of the whole ageing process. It's not just the lifespan, it's not just the cancer, it's not just the frailty, it's not just the cosmetic stuff. Yeah. It's all of these things at once. And so that's the real dream of anti-aging medicine.
Well, totally. So it moves just beyond kind of cosmetic.
Exactly.
Now, here's the big question. Have you taken this pill for yourself?
Do you know what? Not yet. And I think it's because we've just got to wait for the clinical trial data to come in to try and find out, how this is going to work in humans. It's only going to be a few years before we'll start to know we might have the first real anti-aging drugs that can slow down the aging process.
So you think, even in the next 10 years?
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a thing that I was intrigued about called a spermidine, is that right?
Spermidine is something that can potentially extend lifespan. And it was actually originally discovered, as the name implies, in sperm. So there was a scientist, a Dutch guy called Antony van Leeuwenhoek, and in the 17th century, he developed one of the world's first microscopes. And so what you're going to do, you're a guy, it's the 17th century, got one of the world's first microscopes. Obviously, he looked at his own spunk. And so, number one...
The Dutch, eh?
He discovers the sperm cell. Nice.
Yep.
But number two, he notices that as the spunk is drying out, these little crystals...
Just listen, those are his words. I noticed that the spunk is drying out. Go on.
There are these crystals forming.
Yeah.
And he called them spermidine. And we've obviously been studying this compound in the intervening centuries. And we found that people who consume the most spermidine, not like that, people who get the most spermidine in their diet, so things like, there's a lot of it in soybeans and cheddar cheese and mushrooms, they seem to live longer than people who get less spermidine.
Back up. I was fully on board, with spermidine. Mushrooms was the big take-home for me. The spermidine,
isn't it?
The spermidine in mushrooms.
Yeah. It's although it's called spermidine, because that's where it was first found, it's all over nature, so there are loads of different places you find it.
Oh, I see.
So that's the good news, because that's obviously...
Right, mate, yeah. I don't want to seem foolish, but I don't think I'm alone in feeling that it felt like...
Yeah. So I'm a stats nerd, so I obviously did crunch the numbers. If you want to grow your own, so to speak...
Yes.
In order to get a sort of clinically relevant dose of spermidine, you'd have to consume 100 to 200 ejaculations per day. And I don't know about you, but I reckon that's at least 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
So what that means then is...
Yeah. I mean, you would extend your life.
But you'd spend that extra time wanking.
Yeah. Imagine if there is a heaven and God goes through your highlight reel of like, so Ross, you got to 41 and you really changed direction, didn't you? For those who kind of can't wait for the tablets and maybe don't like mushrooms, are there kind of practical steps that people can go through to kind of extend their lives?
There definitely are. There's lots of really good stuff, and there's a chapter of health advice in the book. And I think it falls into sort of 2 categories. The first category is the stuff that everyone knows that they should be doing. Not eating too much, eating a good balanced diet, getting plenty of exercise, not smoking. And those things...
Tick.
Good man. These things are like, I've been really excited.
What about fasting?
Oh, that's a really tough one. Again, the problem is all these diet studies are so knotty. There's really good evidence that it works in animals, so eating less definitely lengthens the lives of rats and mice and...
What if you look a bit rattish?
The challenge is all the studies in humans have been too short to generate a really plausible conclusion. And the other issue is that if you eat less, there are side effects as well. So all medicines obviously have side effects. And so, people who do this for an extended period of time, they report the hunger never goes away. So it's not as though you get used to it. You feel cold all the time. And it also has an impact on your libido. So that might be good for some people, but I guess it depends how much you like food and sex.
Yeah.
There's a common joke in the ageing biology community about fasting, which is that it might not actually make you live longer, but it will definitely feel like longer. The most important thing you can do for you to live a long time, for your friends, for your family to live a long time, is to spread the word about ageing biology. And that's why I wrote this book, because I really want to tell people, you know, this isn't sci-fi, this is real science happening in labs all around the world right now. This could make everybody live longer, healthier, happier lives. And I really think that sort of raising that profile, trying to get some more funding into ageing research, is the way we're going to solve this problem.
So intriguing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Andrew Steele!